Warning. The following program contains explicit language and major spoilers. Before continuing, watch Rudderless. Viewer discretion is advised.
How are you, dude?
Exhausted, man. It's been a busy couple of days.
Yeah, it has for me too. Hell, it's been a lot. I still work a full-time job and everything. First thing I want to get into is Rudderless.
Yeah.
Dude, first off, before I even get into that, obviously I'm a huge follower of you. I've watched you since 2020 during COVID. Hell, I was like 16 or something when that happened. So this is an honor for me. I really appreciate you coming on and doing this for me.
Yeah, man. No problem. I appreciate it.
Rudderless. When did you see this movie? Did you see it when it came out, or did you hear about it somewhere, or what?
It was within a year or so of it coming out. It must have been pretty close. I think, honestly, I just saw it on an ad on YouTube. The most random place to hear about it. I was just kind of sitting in my apartment. I had like a one-bedroom apartment at the time, and I remember I was just kind of going through YouTube, and it advertised this movie, and I don't remember what it was about it, but I was like, that looks pretty good. I could use something to watch tonight. And so I ended up finding it and watching it. And it's one of those movies where, like, I really liked it when I first watched it, but every time I've rewatched it, it's like that love just grows. And so there was something about it, something about the soundtrack and the way that the twist or the reveal or whatever kind of hits you. And I thought it's one of those movies that has just like a perfect ending, just a perfect note to end on, no pun intended. And so I just kept having this desire to keep going back to it. And so I probably watched it 15 times at this point. But yeah, it was just one of those little hidden gems that I honestly think it was just a YouTube ad. Otherwise, I would have never heard about it.
Yeah, see, obviously the first time I heard about it was from you. You've spoken about the movie a million times now.
I think I'm
And
responsible for at least half of the people who have seen the film.
shit, if not three-quarters of them. Yeah, so I watched it for the first time probably, hell, it might have been a year ago or so. It was around the time Deadpool and Wolverine came out. And it was a time where I just started doing my reviews, but I was doing them on Twitter. So I was trying to get something up. I was too shy to come on YouTube yet. And I was like, well, shit, look, I had just watched Aliens and Alien for the very first time. But while I was watching them, I was in the process of rearranging my house and doing all kinds of weird shit. So I turned on Rudderless, and I knew I loved the movie, the parts that I seen, but I honestly didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. And then I think within the past month or so, I've been looking for it on Blu-ray. That way I can watch it at home. It's gone.
Yeah, you got to find like a foreign Blu-ray or a foreign
Dude.
release for it. It is, I think, on Amazon Prime for a digital release, but yeah, for physical, I think I snuck in and got the one Blu-ray for the 4 days
Ever
they had
made.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm jealous of that limited edition that Chuck got you. I seen that on your thing. I went to go buy it actually, and it's like $66 fucking dollars.
So worth it.
Yeah, but I don't make a whole lot of money, dude.
I get it. Yeah.
But yeah, so I watched it again about a month ago or so, and I watched it with my girlfriend. I actually bought it digitally. I hate doing that, but I bought it digitally and watched it with her. She might be the only person I've ever heard of that's watched it and did not like it, unfortunately. I know, sin. But yeah, so she didn't really care for it, but I fell in love with it like all over again. And the ending hit me really, really hard. There she is. Anyway,
Speak of the devil.
yeah. But yeah, so the ending hit me really hard, and what's really messed up was the revelation of the twist with when I first, realized it was like Selena Gomez tells him, hey, it's messed up what you're doing. And like you said in one video, you was like, it can come off like maybe she's offended by the plagiarism.
Yeah.
But then, the next scene, hard cut, by the way, the graffiti calling his son a killer. And it's revealed to the audience that his son was actually the shooter of the school. When I first watched it, I was like, damn, so he didn't know that his son was a shooter the whole time? And then
Uh-huh.
I was like, wait a minute, no, he knows. That's a reveal to us, not him,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. And then at the end, when he takes his son's song, it comes full circle. The movie opens with that song and closes with that song. And then I guess I would assume that the son never finished writing the song, so he finished writing it.
Yeah, so the whole movie, he's taking these completed songs from his son's, little CD collection in his notebook or whatever, and he's inadvertently kind of passing them off as his own, or at
Right,
least taking the credit for it somewhat, whether he directly says this, I wrote the song or not, everybody just assumes and he doesn't correct anybody. And
right.
then the end, what makes it powerful is that you had the one song that he didn't finish. It was the one that he was working on, and then, the tragedy happened or whatever. And so the majority of that song actually is the first thing that is Billy Crudup's character's song,
Right.
but he immediately opens it up with "This was my son's song." And so it's kind of like him in a way giving it back. And the whole song, like, it kind of has a double meaning the whole time that you're listening to it. So yeah, it's just so much wrapped up in that final song and the
It,
ending. And then just I love the moment where he gets, he sees everybody's emotional reaction, and then he just walks off and you just see the microphone and the stool, and then it's
yeah.
over.
I thought it was amazing, and
Mhm,
it's one of the best soundtracks to a movie. It's one that here recently at work I've been listening to that a lot, and like
mhm.
you probably can't barely see it, but I play guitar. It's hanging up over there. And then just today I came home after I got off, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna learn Over Your Shoulder and sing along, which is the title of the last song.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I loved just like you said how the movie wrapped up. The him playing all these songs that are his sons that are fully completed and everything, and then finishing the movie, and I guess his journey with performing his son's songs with the
Mhm.
last song that he was actually able to finish writing for him to him. Yeah, I thought that was beautifully done and constructed. I think William H. Macy's a genius in that regard.
Mhm.
Not only does the ending hit especially hard for me, it was so messed up, and how I didn't know this is crazy. I texted my dad immediately after the next day and told him, I was like, hey, I bought Rudderless. It's on your Voodoo account, which I put all your damn movies on. Go watch it. Like, now
Mhm.
you have no excuses. It's there. And then he said, yeah, I love Anton Yelchin. Too bad he passed away. I was like, huh?
Oh, yeah, you didn't know that? Yeah,
I
it
did not know that, dude.
was about
I
a
mean,
decade or so. Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's crazy. It was like, and especially the way my dad talks, he texted me how he died. And I
Mhm.
was like, the hell you write me a Final Destination plot? Like,
As crazy as it seems, yeah, that is kind of the way that he died, was like a Final Destination movie. It was jacked up.
besides the obvious theme and story of the movie, what are some, I guess, happier moments of the movie? Because you look at the movie, it is pretty dark and unsettling, very uncomfortable type of movie.
Mhm.
What are some brighter moments that you get out of that movie?
I think the brightest thing, honestly, is that, like, you don't I like the fact that the movie doesn't really spell out for you what exactly was the issue, if there was an issue with Josh, the son.
Right.
Did he not have much of a relationship with his dad or his parents? Like, you get the indication that he wants to hang out with them more now, but maybe he's in college and he's like, man, I don't know, like, that time has passed. Like, you can kind of fill in the blanks yourself. But regardless,
Mm,
you have this father who now has this giant void where his son isn't there anymore, and it's caused his life to literally spiral. And to me, the brightest spot in the movie is that he kind of tries to fill that void with being a father figure to Anton Yelchin's character, who very clearly didn't have much or any guidance at all the more you find out about him.
right.
And
And they show
so,
you with his mom and everything too. So,
yeah, exactly. And so you have this kid that clearly has a love and a passion for music, but just doesn't have anybody to encourage him or to push him or to, to make him do the uncomfortable thing to make him get out there. And so that whole relationship in the movie to me is really what makes it, where he doesn't really want anything to do with him at first. And the Anton Yelchin is the one who's kind of being the overbearing, like, nagging personality. And then finally he kind of starts to get into it, and then that role kind of reverses where he's like, no, you're going to get on stage, no, you're going to do this, you're going to go
Right.
talk to those girls, we're going to do this. And then even at the very end, again, I like the fact that you don't exactly know where everybody's going to go after that. They give you enough of an idea that, of course, he gives him the guitar, kind of reawakens his love for music, tells him to keep going, quitters never win.
Right.
And he clearly gets back together with the band and they're doing their own thing. Do they ever meet back up with Sam again? Who knows? He's clearly bought the music store, so he's going to be kind of a mainstay in that side of that industry in that little town somehow. But yeah, it's just the way that he kind of finishes that song at the end, and fills that void of that last piece of music for his son. It feels like he also fills that void kind of in his heart by leading this kid down a good path, when whether it was his fault or just the way that the cookie crumbled, his biological son got led down a bad path.
Right. In a much, almost in a lighter way, but also in a pretty darker way with
Hmm.
like Joel and Sarah and Joel and Ellie.
Yep.
It's kind of that same type of relationship, and it's like, Billy Crudup's character is like, he's you can't tell what kind of person he is the whole movie. You can make assumptions, you can judge him,
Hmm.
but he really also never lets you know who he truly is. Now, that doesn't mean he's a bad guy or anything, but
Hmm.
he's like a high rich CEO or something of a company, or one of the higher ups in that company, and then out of nowhere he's always on the brink of leaving. Like the whole movie, he's on the brink of going. Anytime him and the band perform his son's song, he feels safe and stayed while they're performing, but as soon as they're done, he's ready to get out of there. Or
Hmm.
kind of the reason he lives on a boat is because he's always on the brink of escaping. Like he could just easily get out and no one notice.
Yeah.
And then at the end, like just like you said, he bought the music shop. He's grown that care for why am I forgetting the kid's name? But Anton Yelchin's character's he grows that care for him, and he wants to be around, but he's giving him that distance. And then of course, the band still stays a band. They hire in a new lead singer or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, dude, I absolutely love the movie. One of it's definitely in my top 10 now. It's one of the most rewatchable movies too, for as dark as it is.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Super rewatchable.
it is.
Um,
Yeah, it's one of those ones that, like, every time I rewatch it, it climbs. I think, this was years ago when I did my top 100 movies. It was in like the top 25 or something. I think if I was to do that today, it would skate into the top 10 easily. It's just one of those movies where, and I think talking about movies online has made me even more this way, where hidden gems like that, I tend to appreciate them even more. Even though my number one movie of all time is Die Hard, there's not a soul on earth that doesn't know what that movie is. But I think because I'm always like, not necessarily trapped, but I'm always kind of pushed into having to talk about the movies that everybody knows. It's like, talk about
right.
Halloween again. And I'm like, what else is there for me to say? But then you have a movie like that where I've never met a single person where I bring that up and they go, oh, yeah, that's a good one. They're always like, huh? What? Okay, I'll keep an eye out for that one. And there's something fun about that. So the
Yeah.
fact that I think it's just a brilliant movie, it's like it's literally flawless. There's nothing about it that I would change.
Yeah.
And it's a hidden gem. And getting to tell William H. Macy himself that how much I loved it kind of even reinforced it a little bit, because I could tell how much he appreciated it, which was really cool.
Dude, I was finna call you I was literally just finna say you're like the luckiest bastard in the world. You got to tell William H. Macy that how important Rudderless is to you. And from what you said, you made his knees weak.
That's what he
That's
said. That was literally the words that he said. So I don't know how honest he was. It seemed earnest, but
oh, I can
I
imagine.
I figured, unless he's just the total opposite type of person that I assume that he is, which you never know with actors or whatever. They could be douchebags and play somebody that you think is really cool. But I knew if I got a chance to tell him how much that movie meant to me, I would probably be one of, if not the only person that walked up and said that to him. Not because the movie's bad and everybody hates on it, but it's just such an underknown, float under the radar movie that's like, if he had 20 guesses of what thing that he worked on that I loved, I don't think he would ever guess that. And you could tell by the way that his face changed. So like, I had maybe a little bit too long of a build up But I was telling you, hey, this is my wife. I'm Cody or whatever. I wanted to make sure. I said, of all the people in this room, I said, if I got a chance to talk to you, I wanted to tell you how important this film is to me. I'm on YouTube and I've been talking about movies for almost 10 years. And there's one film that I always try to tell people about. It's like a hidden gem that means so much to me. And I'm saying this and I can hear him or I can see his face scrunched up to me, where is he going with this? What is he going to say? And when I said Rudderless, he literally went you just feel his whole body whoa. And so
Shifted.
yeah, and so I don't think in a million years he thought I was going to say that, but yeah, he said my knees or my legs are weak or whatever like that. So you could tell. I wish I could talk to him a little bit longer about it. Maybe one day I will be able to. But it was a very cool.
Keep going.
Yeah, exactly. It was a very cool moment for me because I could tell he appreciated that. I might have been the only person on earth that ever said something like that about that film. And he hasn't directed much. I think he's only directed 2 films. The other one's not nearly as good. But Rudderless, yeah, that was one where I'm okay, that's a bucket list thing, and cross that off the list now.
Yeah, dude, it's um I'm incredibly happy for you, yet also at the same time I'm like, damn, why you? But without you, half the damn audience who knows that movie wouldn't have seen it. So of course you.
It feels that way. I'd be curious to know the numbers.
Wouldn't it be great if there was an actual ratio, you could actually see it?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, and just one thing, if I had, I agree, it is damn near a flawless, as Chuck would say, a flawless 10 out of 10 masterpiece.
Chuck
Or
says that a lot.
But if I had to nitpick one thing, it's not even a negative. It was just super funny, and it's something that me and my girlfriend laughed about pretty hard when it happened. When Billy Crudup's on the ladder and he's sitting there painting, and the guy he works with comes up to him, he's telling him "Hey, so and so told me about your band." And he's like, "What?" And he's trying to play it off. The the dude says, "So, my kid's sister."
I think he says my kid sister, my baby sister, my little sister. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I think that's what he said.
Sense.
I think that's what he said. Yeah. But it wouldn't be the first time. You might be right. I'll keep an eye out for that, but it wouldn't be the first time somebody flubbed a line and it made it through the edit and everything like that.
It's just he you know what? He probably did say my kid's sister. But and as stupid as it is, it was just so funny in the moment. It's one of those things you just can't unhear.
Yep.
I thought it was hilarious. All right, so now getting into actually what I wanted this podcast to be about. I want this. I started my channel doing regular reviews, just like you did, just like many people do, and I wasn't really. Hell, it took me 9 months to get 100 subs, and I was consistent, fairly consistent, and I was hitting popular things, some throwbacks. I had kind of I didn't have a niche, but I stayed within mainstream, but also went back to classics I'd never seen before. Fell out of love with that, got pretty burnt out, and I still want to create. I want to talk to others, and I'm not good at the review format, and I do love talking to other people, meeting new people, and still talking about movies. So I was like, why not, instead of being the millionth talking head on YouTube, I could be the millionth podcast, because now there's a million of them. And so what I wanted this to be was people like you, John Campia, all the other amazing guys out there that do these movie reviews, talk about movies. Y'all are what influenced me to get on YouTube in the first place, to take my first step, especially you. This is why I asked you to be my first. And so I want to know who influenced you into starting your channel first.
Well, you named one of them, John Campia. I kind of went through a little bit of a journey where I think it was 2009 when I first found out that people were actually talking about movies on YouTube. I had dropped out of college, moved back home, was the most lost that I've ever been in my life. Just didn't know what direction I was going to go. And that's when Jeremy Johns and Chris Stuckman were kind of the main 2 guys. There might have been a couple more, but they were the main 2. So they were definitely an influence very early on. John Campea, and I started getting into Schmoes Know, which isn't a channel anymore, but that was Christian Harloff and I'm blanking on the other guy's name. But anyway, it was Christian Harloff that I was really kind of following on social media. And then right around the time I started watching him and Schmoes Know, he ended up moving over to AMC Movie Talk, is what it was called at the time. And so I kind of followed him over to AMC Movie Talk, and that's where, I got introduced to John Campea and John Schnepp and a bunch of other people. And John Campea kind of became the one that I really like lasered in on. There was just something about his style, his passion, his energy, his education with everything that I just really loved, and followed him. I don't watch too much movie related YouTube anymore because I spend so much time in that headspace, but I'll pop in
Right.
every once in a while. But all the way up to him leaving and creating his own channel. So John Campea was a big one. Another huge one is Double Toasted. They used to be called Spill.com, but it's a couple of guys from Austin, Texas, and they used to have like 3 or 4 different co-hosts back in Spill.com, but they used to do like animation. It would be like a cartoon version of talking heads that were reviewing movies, and it was just always very fun and very funny. They always had a great sense of humor. Eventually Spill.com had to go away, and then they just kind of went independent and did Double Toasted, which is similar but not quite as animation driven. But those guys I've always thought were just so funny and very fun to watch. And luckily I was able to meet both of them, Corey and Martin, at last year when I went to Fantastic Fest. And so now I've hung out with them a couple of times. I went out to Atlanta last year to go see their little live show. So they've become friends, or we've become friends, which is really cool because I've been watching them since well over 13 years.
That's
So they
awesome.
were a really big one. I would say my style of just kind of riffing and going off the cuff and being more comedic really comes from them. And then those are the main two. I mean, like I said, Jeremy Johns, Chris Stuckman, bedrock. I kind of fell off of their channels after a while, but they were very influential early on. But somewhere between John Campea and Double Toasted, those are probably my 2 biggest influences.
Got you. Yeah, and also just one more thing. Something else I wanted to do with this podcast was to try to dive deeper, ask more of not unusual, but like questions that you haven't fucking heard a million times. I've listened to a lot of your interviews.
Not many of them left.
You've been asked a lot,
Mhm.
and so I relate a lot to you and how you grew up. The mom and dad situation, how close you and your dad are,
Mhm.
your dad showing you movies and stuff. I relate a lot in that way. And even if you say your dad, um, who in your life has been the most influential in any aspect, the one that's helped you gr- grow the most, positively, negatively, ups and downs, everything?
Yeah, I mean, I think the easy and the honest answer would be my dad. I mean, he was my only influence for the most part for a big chunk of my life. So I think I'm the oldest of 5 kids, but him and I are the most alike because we spent the most time with just each other. And so we're like, best friends in a lot of ways. But yeah, just kind of teaching me the right and wrong way to be, teaching me who to be as a person, very much shaping a lot of my interest and my influences early on. And as we've gotten older, obviously I've developed my own personality and we have a lot of differences between us. But even as an adult, there's sometimes I think our differences kind of makes us both better. There's things that he believes in and things that he is really important to him that I kind of push back on a little bit, and vice versa. There's things that I do or things that I believe in that he'll kind of push back on. Even as a parent in a lot of ways, like I'm very much like I've definitely tweaked my style and certain things that I didn't like growing up that I didn't want to repeat or whatever. But there's a lion's share of how I am as a dad that is just like straight up a mimic of my dad. And good and bad. I'll be honest. There's good things about it and bad things about it.
Yeah.
But there's even times where he'll be around as just as a grandfather, and he's like, man, you got to calm down a little bit. And I'm like, oh, you're one to talk. I get it from you. And so
this ain't beating their ass up and down the hallway, dude. Come on.
Yeah. Exactly. And so, yeah, he's definitely a big one. As I've grown up, there's been a few others. I don't hang out with him too much anymore, but I was really good friends with. He's actually not too much younger than my dad, so it was kind of odd that we were so close. But in my early 20s, I was very close with a guy that kind of got me into working out and taught me a lot about relationships and stuff. And eventually, I worked for him when I was doing construction for a while, which unfortunately was what kind of pushed us apart a little bit, because as great as he was as a friend, as a
Yeah.
boss, not so much. But he was a big influence in a lot of ways. And then oddly enough, at that construction job, a man named Ron was a really big influence for me, and somebody that kind of sneakily was somebody that I really respected and really wanted to kind of become more like. Just it's an older black guy that I just started working with, and then find out he's a pastor, and he has his own church. And you tell me all these old stories working in this construction job for 20 plus years, and we'd always make each other laugh. And I'd have personal things going on, and he'd be the one that I'd trust most to talk with, and he would just walk me through some certain things. I worked side by side with him for almost 4 years, and so we were literally like family. And he ended up being the guy that officiated my wedding. And so I still keep in contact with him quite a bit. I saw him last Christmas. He finally came and saw the house that we had bought and everything, and caught up with us. And it was really special to me to be able to kind of hang out with him again. But there's been a lot of people who have kind of touched my life and shaped me in small, medium ways all throughout. But those are three that I could think of now that were pretty big.
Yeah, same for me. Me and my dad are really close. He makes jokes about like there's me and my younger brother, which we're only 18 months apart, but that's like my only full-blooded sibling, and then I have three step siblings, and then I have a half sister.
Hmm.
And he always jokes around. Most of his kids are grown out of the house, and he's down to two left in the house. And he's talks about how he's ready to get rid of them, and how he wishes he could have me back and stuff. And who's the favorite son? They say Devin, but they all know it's me. There's little jokes like that.
That's the
And
running joke in our family as well, is that I'm the favorite son. And so my dad leans into it. Like, my sister will be like, your favorite child's here, and he's like, Cody's here, where? And so he runs into it. And I haven't done it yet, but I've joked around that I'm going to get one of those like employee of the month plaques, and it'd be like child of the month, and it's just going to be a bunch of pictures of me January through
I'll,
December.
dude, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I relate like with the dad part, and then like you said like coworkers, stuff like that have been influential. Um, Me leaving, growing up, getting out of the house, being on my own for so long, I had someone that was kind of family to me, and stuff happened, and I'm not gonna get into detail of that, but that was a pretty traumatic situation for me at like
Hmm.
18, 19 years old. This man who I thought he was, who taught me a lot of stuff, became like my best friend. Stuff happened, and he's no longer around. And um, I was kind of like on my own. So then I relied on that influence. If I didn't have my dad, didn't have this guy, you know, not actively looking for it, but you find those in others. And like
Hmm.
there's an old man I work with now, Joey. He's such an asshole, but I got a lot of love for him.
Hmm.
But yeah, he's old and wise as hell, smart as hell. He's taught me a lot, a lot. I thought as a 20-year-old at the time I was would think, there's nothing left to learn. You know everything.
Oh yeah.
No,
Oh yeah.
no. 2 years later, and I still know there's a lot to learn, and he's taught me a lot. So yeah, I can relate in that way. So next is what maybe, if any, celebrities, directors, actors, musicians, of that type any of those have been influential on you in your life?
Oh yeah, I mean a ton of them. I mean there's plenty of I don't even know if there's really like one specific one. There's a lot of people that are like can point to one, but for me, I mean it's all the way back from whether I'm watching, Nightmare on Elm Street and Child's Play as a kid, all the way up to movies today that I see premiere at film festivals, and it's just some independent film that a guy's throwing out there as his first feature. I just get really influenced by and inspired by people who have a story to tell and have the piss and vinegar and the drive to actually make it happen. Because for as much as I might and everybody else that talks about movies might make it seem like we feel like it's easy, like it's so easy to make a good movie. How do you keep fucking it up? And it's not that way at all. I think most people that know filmmaking and the process, they know it's unbelievably hard. Like it's a miracle we even get any good movies.
Exactly.
Um, and so when you see certain ones, especially from like first time filmmakers with not a whole lot of resources and not necessarily a lot of Hollywood, behind them, make something that you think is awesome is just really cool to me. Every time I leave a film festival, I'm like creatively pumped. I'm like, I'm gonna go home and write shit. Like I'm gonna go do this, and just on the plane ride home, I'm writing down ideas, and I'm buying screenwriting books on Amazon and stuff like that.
Got the
Uh,
bug immediately.
yeah, exactly. And so it's really everybody to certain degrees. I mean, of course, you can throw out my favorite directors. I mean, you got like David Fincher and Tarantino and Spielberg and John Carpenter and all them. John Carpenter, I feel like if I do start making movies, will probably be my biggest obvious influence. But
Kind of like the blueprint you'll go to just for help.
yeah, and it's funny because like I haven't written full scripts, but I've written like outlines for things. I've written little stories and little story outlines, and I'll bounce it off of some friends of mine. And it's weird how sometimes you don't even realize which influences are bleeding into stuff like that when you've been influenced by so many things.
Right.
Because I've got a project that I'm a part of I'm not sure exactly when it'll come out. It might be later this year, it might be next year, but it's like a collection of short stories, and I was kind of going through a couple of different ideas, and I sent it to my buddy Joey, who's nuts like me when it comes to nerd stuff and film and writing and screenplays and storylines and everything. So I sent it to him, and he's like, "Yeah, man, like I'm reading this, like I see Butterfly Effect in there and Pet Cemetery," and I'm like, "Oh shit, that is in there, isn't it?" Like like you
Damn.
don't even realize, you're like, "Oh, I get, yeah." It's like inadvertent. It just kind of like comes out of your brain. Um, but yeah, I gave you a very long answer that's not even a specific answer,
Dude,
but
go on.
so many filmmakers and actors and all that kind of stuff, just their work, hearing them talk about their craft. And then as far as music, yeah, there was one point where I would have told you, like in my mid-teens, that I wanted to be a rock star when I grew up, which I think everybody has that phase at some point.
Trick or
But
treat, mother.
there you go, exactly. And so whether it's certain songwriters, whether it's just certain frontmen, like Corey Taylor's a big one for me, and just I've read a couple of his books and hearing where he came from and where he is now, and all that different stuff. Just creative people in general always influence me and inspire me.
Yeah, like that's something that like even down to the point to where like I watch not as many as I probably should. Now I'm it's so hard for me to go to the theater and watch a new release. So I'm trying to now dive more into movies like Frailty I still haven't seen. Um
Ooh, that'll be a happy day.
Session 9 or all those hidden gems or movies, just any classic like Godfather. I haven't seen Godfather. Haven't seen 20 Weeks Later or 28
Mm,
Weeks Later. There's a bunch I haven't seen, and whenever I do dive back into those, I get influenced and like I start writing weird shit, just coming up with random ideas, and then
mhm,
eventually you start like you said, unconsciously, like you start storing so much stuff back there that you go to create an idea, and eventually it's like some kind of potluck of all these other things that you've seen before.
mhm,
That's like Matthew McConaughey famously has a story where, and it's a true story apparently, where when he was like 18 years old, he did like a foreign student program where he went to Australia, and basically he lived in a more not as violent way, but he kind of lived the story of see no or speak no evil,
mhm,
where he moves in with this random foreign family and they're super weird and psycho, and Mom freaks out because he won't call her mom and everything, and he can't say certain words because it's like illiterate and stuff.
Hmm.
And so that kind of just hearing that, I wrote a story where I kind of wrote that, but put a more speak no evil vibe into it. And there's a bunch of things like that that inspire me, even that I ended up writing a whole bunch of crap, and none of it's probably any good. It's just to get that creative bubble out and just
Hmm.
put it somewhere. Um, I think there's a lot of value in that. I think that a lot of great things can even come from that. And that's like, I remember on one of your podcast episodes with Chuck, you was talking about a short story idea you had to where, if you were to ever start making movies, you want to start with a short.
Hmm.
And you had this idea that you wanted like this guy to be tied up in a chair, and this other
Yep.
guy's like cutting him up, and then it comes back and it's like a film set, and he gets pissed off after all these takes and actually kills the guy.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, that's the best take ever.
Yeah.
Dude, that inspired me. I wrote my own short, like on 8 minute short, something like that. And so, yeah, the inspiration come from many different things and influences us to create many different things. Halloween, uh, that and Friday the 13th is one of the biggest stories ever
Hmm.
of influence. So, are there any, even if there were valuable outcome, which surely, because you're a very smart guy, you seem like a very stand up guy. So, are there any negative influences that had positive outcomes, whether you had learned the hard way or, like, for example, and we ain't got to get deep into it, but your mom,
Hmm.
it's a negative influence. My mom was a negative influence. Unfortunately, I had to actually go live with that influence for a while.
Oof. Yeah.
And, and luckily, when I was like 14, I was able to get out of it. But yeah, so I actually ended up living with my influence, and learned a lot of valuable things through. I'm not going to be Jamie Lee Curtis throwing the word trauma around 100 times, but it was very traumatic situations where at the time I didn't even know they were traumatic. I didn't know they were
Hmm.
traumatic until hell I got with my girlfriend, and she told me, she's like, your childhood was bad, dude.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, there's a lot of valuable lessons to come out of that. And same with my step siblings, they had a very similar life. What are maybe some of the biggest lessons that help you as maybe like a father, for example?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head with the big one there. For as much as my dad was a big positive influence, yeah, my relationship with my mom was the opposite. And I think there's a dime a dozen stories where something like that can actually like really destroy a person's life if they let it. And luckily, I think I'm one of those stories where I never let it go that direction. A lot of that, my dad didn't let it go that direction either. He was always there to shield me from a lot of it and always kind of pull me back to center. Um, but there was a lot of things regarding my mom that, definitely pushed me to be the way that I am as far as, how I view parenthood and, responsibility and stuff like that. And then my dad just reinforced that with what he did, making $20,000 a year, raising 5 kids, 4 kids by himself. And so, I look back at stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't know how the hell you did it. Like every time I feel like I should bitch about something small, I'm like, shut up, just
Yeah.
move on. And so that was a big one. And I've had a couple, not many, luckily, but like, maybe 2 significant, like really close friendships that ended badly that, you kinda have one of those things where it's like you feel like you were really close with somebody, and then it gets to a point where you're like, "I don't know who this person is, like, who the hell did I think they were?" That was a brilliant mask you wore for years. And so there was a couple of things like that that certainly taught me certain ways about, luckily never let it break me or, like, change me into some, like, really distrusting person, but be a little bit more weary of people, pick up some of the red flags a little bit more for people's intentions because everybody loves to smile at you, but sometimes there's some very weird intentions and agendas behind those smiles. And so, I've always been somebody who is very trusting of people and a people pleaser, and I try to be friends with everybody as much as I can. And I'll do anything for anyone, even if it's just somebody I just met. And sometimes there's a lot of wonderful things that come from that, and sometimes you get yourself in a little bit of trouble for being that type of person, very easily taken advantage of. And
Yeah.
so it's there's been quite a few life lessons of trying to rein that in a little bit, where don't lose who you are, but don't let people necessarily take advantage of you. And it's a hard balance to have sometimes, even with like, relationships early on and stuff. I think that my relationship with my mom made me very distrusting towards women a lot when I was younger. And so I
Mhm.
had a very hard, delayed time really having any kind of meaningful relationships. And the ones that I did have, I seemed to always end up with somebody who was very like self-absorbed, where it's like, this relationship is about me. I don't care what you get or what you want. And it always took me a while to kind of see that. And so that was one of the things that when I met my wife, I've told her this before, and I think she always thought it was just like a line, but it was the truth. She's the only girl I've ever been with that I actually loved. And so, luckily it worked out. But there was um there was a lot of life lessons in that too. We're always learning, and we're always, having positive influences and negative influences, and negative experiences, I think, shape us sometimes even greater than the positive experiences in many ways. It's just a matter of
Exactly.
not letting it destroy you, not letting it change the good about you, turn you into a jaded person. And it's very easy to let that happen. But at least
But
36 years in, I've kind of avoided letting that happen.
yeah, see, diamonds ain't made by wind, they're made by pressure.
There you go.
And really what seems to be painful pressure. Okay, so my brother, he and my dad probably would absolutely kill me if I didn't take a second. So a movie what immediately attached me to following you and subscribing and just constantly being so curious about your opinions, especially on horror. Me and my brother grew up on horror,
Mhm.
and a movie that I think we rewatched the absolute most, and one that is still in my top 10, is The Lost Boys.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
there's certain movies that we grew up watching that it still shocks me when I hear someone say the title because I'm like, what? Y'all know about that?
Hmm.
And then finding out, I'm like, oh, damn, that's a cult classic. Like Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I could have sworn that me and my brother were the only two people ever. And no,
Sometimes it can feel that way. Growing up, it didn't seem like anybody, my classroom or classmates, peers, cousins, anybody like that ever watched horror. So like damn near every movie I love, they're like, "What? What is that? Nightmare on what?"
yeah. See, like
Mhm.
my dad, my mom didn't really care for us watching it, but she didn't say too much. But I mean, hell, there was nights where, like one night I remember we were like, hell, I was probably 6, 7, 8 years old maybe, and we were we were laying in the living room, and it was my brother, me, and then my mom. She would sit in the living room, but she would never be involved really. And my dad, he would be involved. He'd probably be in the floor with us
Mhm.
and we did a triple feature. We watched Pumpkinhead 2, and then my dad turned on Judgment Night, the one with what is it,
Dennis
Dennis
Leary?
Leary? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
He
one.
turned on Judgment Night, and then I don't know why he turned on I think Jason Goes to Hell. And
That was a that
it was
was a
a
weird marathon.
dude, it was so weird, but I like that's how I grew up. I grew up watching stuff like that and
Uh-huh.
having nights like that and like hell, the only thing I really remember about that night is I remember watching the first two movies and then falling asleep after Jason like got obliterated in the opening,
Uh-huh.
and then waking up and seeing Freddy's glove just grabs Jason's mask and just pulling it to hell.
Yeah.
And I like started freaking out and I said, "What the hell is this movie?"
Many people would
And
tell you
he
that was the preferred cut of the film. Just watch the beginning and the ending.
exactly. Um, and yeah. So what maybe I'm gonna give one more story real quick, and then I'm gonna ask you like, what's one of yours?
Mhm.
A story that I have, like a memory I have with a movie, like tied to a movie that I can just never forget. Anytime I think about the movie, I think about this. And it's one with Freddy versus Jason, where the first time I watched it, prior to that, I was probably around 6, 7 years old, and we were living in Texas, and my dad was around his family 'cause that's where they're from. And so he called his cousin Brandy, and I do remember them, they had just recently watched the 2009 Friday movie in theater. And that week they'd been talking about like all the movies and stuff. I've seen most of them. and they started talking about Freddy versus Jason. And I'm like, wait, that's a real movie? Like, that actually exists? And they're like, yeah, you haven't seen it? And me and Devin were like, no, we haven't seen it. Dad never owned it. So I remember that day getting in the car immediately, driving all around what seemed like the entire state of Texas. We
Hmm.
went to video shops and I think there was like one Blockbuster at the time, a bunch of mom and pop video stores, hell, probably six pawn shops. I mean, we went everywhere looking for it. And
Hmm.
then I'll be damned if Brandy didn't have it like at his house or something. Like it was just, it was there. It was something stupid. I don't know if that was exactly it, but that type of really fun memory I have tied to that movie.
Hmm.
What's a movie that you have a really fun memory like that, maybe with your dad or something?
Oh man, I have so many of them. One of the ones that's always most fun for me, because like in hindsight it's funny, but at the time it wasn't, is when we saw Hostel. So Hostel came out 2004, I believe, and I didn't know much about it. I just knew Quentin Tarantino was like a producer. It's a horror film. That was enough for me. And
Eli
so it was just
who?
one of those things. Yeah, it was one of those things where I just, hey dad, let's go see this thing. All right, cool. We went like on a Sunday afternoon or whatever. And I mean, watching that movie, it's probably seems tame by today's standards after we've had so many Saw sequels and Terrifier and everything. And
At the time.
yeah, at the time that was the gnarliest, like most disturbing thing I had ever seen, where I literally felt like I had just watched a snuff film. Where like I'm a gore hound, and so I'm sitting there, and like even the kill scenes, I'm like, oh, like I don't want to watch. Like this is something's up with the tone of this film. It's making me feel off. And we walked out of the movie theater, and I remember I could like envision it now, like walking out of the movie theater and like bright middle of the day parking lot, and that our trucks way in the distance, and walking and just feeling like almost like when you have like your ears in the swimming pool. It's like that weird euphoric silence.
Ooh,
Like everything just felt like
I need a
cold.
shower.
Yeah, it was just like we were just walking away, like not even talking to each other, just like stepping like this. And I remember we went to Best Buy, which we would typically do before we went to the movie, and I had bought like a greatest hits of Seven Dust, and they're a little bit more of an aggressive rock band,
Oh yeah.
especially their earlier stuff. And so we were listening to it before we walked to the movie theater. So we get in, crank up the truck or whatever, and the CD starts, and it's just like it's like really aggressive. And my dad just goes click and turns it off. He's like, no angry vibes. And we just drove home listening to Wind. Both of us were like we just saw somebody get just absolutely tortured in front of us.
In real
Uh,
life.
yeah, that's always a fun one. I mean, I have a lot of fun ones where just like my dad would just be throwing a movie on, and I would walk in somewhere in the first 10 minutes and just kind of sit down and get captivated. I got introduced to so many movies that way. Freddy versus Jason, watching that opening night was a blast. Before like Avengers Endgame, that was like the only thing I watched where it almost felt like everybody was going to a sporting event.
I
So that was
wish
a
I
really
could.
cool one. And that was even more fun was like arguing after the movie, because like me and my dad were big Freddy fans, and we had my uncle and my cousin, and they were big Jason fans. And then we had I guess you could say he's my cousin, but at the time like it's my stepmom's nephew, so technically my cousin, but like the other cousin I was with I know my whole life, so it was a little different. So I guess two of my cousins. And so you just see us bickering like, Freddie won. Freddie did all this. It was like, oh, Jason won. And it's like two little camps. And then my,
He
new
winked at
cousin,
them.
yeah, my new cousin chimes in, and he's like, oh yeah, like who walked out with a severed head? And my dad looks at him and he's like, who the fuck drove you out here and we'll leave your ass? Like, and so I remember that one very distinctly where we just all laughed. It was like, oh, you win.
Yep. Dude, that's funny.
Yep.
Who drove you out here?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
it
funny.
was just, he just, as soon as he chimed in, it was just like,
Oh man. Yeah. Freddy versus Jason. I feel like a bunch of people have a funny story with that one.
mhm.
God, dude, God help Ken. Me and Ken have actually become friends, and God rest his soul if they ever make a freaking Michael versus Jason.
Oh God. Yeah.
Honestly, I'd probably pay to watch that live stream.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
That'd be awesome.
Yep.
I want to talk about what you influenced on me
Hmm.
besides Rudderless and me starting my channel together. So the first thing I wanted to touch on, and I got some here,
Hey, there you go.
Resident Evil. So I've only played 4 and I've only played Requiem. These are the only two I've played, but I do have now the 2 and 3 remake, and then I have 7 and 8 remake, or not remake, the them games on my PS5. Uh, Requiem, I I fell in love with that game. That game is flawless. That's one of the best video games ever that I think I've ever played. Admittedly, I started with Resident Evil 4 because you told me to on one of your live streams. You was like, yeah, start there. And, if you like that, if you don't like the action, play this. If you like the action, play more of this. And I got stuck. Whenever you're going into the village, like it's like right after you escape the cabin, then you're going into the village square. And all you got to do is run around for like, what, 2 minutes and wait for the damn bell to ring. Oh my God, dude. I spent 4 days in a row, 2 hours at a time, and didn't understand that. And dude, I got to that damn gate and that damn chainsaw guy kept coming after me, and I was like, what the fuck do I do? And finally he told me, he's like, dude, what the hell? Just wait around. Like, what are you doing? So finally got past that, got really far into the game. Haven't quite beat it yet because I haven't had the time. Requiem came out, the only game I've ever bought on the second day. The second day it came out, I bought it on physical because I wanted to have it. And honestly, I played with headphones and it was dark and I was alone. And I'm not good at video games. I'm very new, very new. Not great at video games. I had it on, I think the standard classic, and not the easiest for me, to be honest with you. That damn shadow monster got a hold of me a couple of good times and I called it quits. Then I let my girlfriend play it and she whipped my ass in it, dude. She
smoked you.
she's at the part where now she's at the part where I think you're finna get on the motorcycle. I think it's finna be that chase, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Not long from that, at least from my understanding. But yeah, she absolutely is great at the game, and I think I had more fun watching her, and I had a bigger hand in helping her solve the puzzles. I kind of bitched out and was like, "Here, you take the remote. I'll help with the puzzles."
There you go.
And so yeah, that's something that you've kind of influenced on me. But not only that, as much as I love Resident Evil, I'm a huge fan of not only the show, but the video game. I have played both games numerous times. The last time I played Last of Us 1, I think it was like my third time. I beat it in 7 hours. Like, played it in just 2 sittings. So easy. The best story I think I've ever seen on any media, ever.
Agreed.
Going through that experience, I have been chasing that experience of playing Last of Us for the first time. And I can't find it. And I think Requiem was the only one so far. And so honestly, a thank you for showing, me to those games and those shows and stuff. What is your favorite maybe gameplay section of Requiem?
Oh man, I mean, that's hard. Going into it, I assumed that I was just gonna immediately prefer and fall in love with the Leon stuff because I'm such a Leon guy. The original Resident Evil 4 was my first Resident Evil game. Most times when I rank them, 2 and 4 are pretty much competing for the top. And so I figured when I got into that and it was the more action horror, that was going to be my bread and butter. And I'd probably like the other stuff, but I would be like, man, when I get to be Leon again. And surprisingly, I just really fell in love with the Grace segment as soon as you're just let loose in that care center, because that care center to me was the most reminiscent of the Spencer Mansion from the original game, that of any setting that we've had, maybe aside from the 7th game. And so that really surprised me, where the classic backtracking and the puzzle elements and finding the little blood collector where you can explode people like Blade, and
dude, I was just like Blade.
Yeah, the different zombies and the way that they kind of have a little bit of like a personality and an edge to them, and the way that you have to kind of get around that. Like, it was just such an unexpectedly fun and new and creative way to experience like the survival horror section or style of Resident Evil. And so I loved of course, the back half of the game when you're more predominantly Leon. But I was surprised in that first half, like the couple little commercial breaks that you get where you get to be Leon for like 5 or 10 minutes. I enjoyed them, but I'm like, I want to get back to being Grace. Like that was really
Yeah.
cool. And so, yeah, I mean, the whole game is awesome, but I really loved my first experience trying to figure out how to get through that care center and get the different wristbands and unlock doors. That's classic Resident Evil.
See, with my experience of video games is like, I mean, I've played damn near every Mario there is. I've played, of course, like all the GTA's and stuff. I've beat GTA 5 and 4 like 1,000 times.
Mhm,
But to me, those don't even really count when you're talking about like a video game experience when you get into things like this.
mhm,
And so getting into something that's way more story driven and nuanced with the details. And since I've had my PS5, I've been a trophy whore.
oh,
So
yeah.
like going through Last of Us actually did it to me, all the looting and the searching, reading notes and stuff. And then I loved because it's not a big aspect in Resident Evil 4, but I absolutely adored the puzzle aspect of Requiem. I thought it
Mhm,
was amazing. And dude, that Emily section,
yeah.
oh my God, I thought I was, dude, I don't know what hit me harder, honestly, that or like the ending of Long Walk. Like they both hit me like extremely and unexpectedly hard.
Uh-huh.
And I had a feeling it was coming too, because I'm like, the whole time I'm looking at her, I'm like, damn, she looks kind of similar. And then finding out, she was a clone. And then, of course, she turns in, I think she had the G virus or whatever. And
Mhm,
that's why. And then coming to find out that, all the reveals of the other monsters and shit, there was a lot of heavy emotional parts of Requiem that I
mhm.
don't think, from my understanding, what I've heard you and, Rudy and stuff talk about, that's not a big aspect of the Resident Evil games. There's some
No.
moments, but this one,
Yeah. It was one of the more emotional ones for nostalgic reasons as well as that. I mean, like, getting back into the RPD and having him reflect on, like Kendo and his daughter and stuff. Resident Evil's not often a franchise that sits and like lets you kind of marinate in emotions. It's more about thrills and tension and like I said, there's moments, there's spots throughout the franchise, but it's not really known for that. So Requiem was kind of like a jack of all trades kind of thing where it's like it brought all the aspects you wanted and then it brought in some things you didn't even expect from a game like that.
so jack of all trades and a master at all of them. Honestly,
Hmm.
it chose the ones it was great at. I didn't know there was killer insects, and I'm
And
terrified of
almost
spiders,
everyone in almost every game.
dude. I am terrified of spiders,
Uh-huh.
and like almost arachnophobic, like crazy terrified. And I think I was like pissing or something. And I come back in the living room, and Alyssa's like going crazy on the chair. I'm like, what's going on? I look at the TV, big ass spider. Just,
Hmm.
dude, I'm glad I didn't play it. I'm glad I didn't play that part. But I think it's a brilliant game. I think it's
Hmm.
probably top 10 of all time. Uh, almost in very many objective ways. It's hard to say that with art.
Hmm.
It's a very subjectively loved game by a lot of people, but I think there are objective aspects of that game that will make it one of the best ever.
Hmm.
And yeah, I can't wait to dive more into that franchise. I'm loving it so far. Same with Last of Us, dude. Last of Us, I need to get into Uncharted. That's the next one I probably need to dive
Oh yeah.
into.
Yeah. Uncharted's more, lighthearted fun. It's not like as deep, storytelling wise as Last of Us. The fourth one's got a little bit more of a mature tone, but that is a fantastic franchise. You'll have a lot of fun with those.
The hard part about that is like basically knowing everything that happens. I listen to so many podcasts, dude. I'm
Mm.
bound to be spoiled by something.
Yeah.
Um, and I have played Uncharted. I played a little bit of the first one. I think that's the one where it opens up and you're Nathan Drake and you got the reporter on the boat. You just
Hmm.
brought up that thing and you got to kill the pirates.
Yep.
And then which one is it that it opens up and you're Sully and Nathan on a boat and it's like dark out and you're in the ocean, you're getting chased?
The fourth one, I think.
Is it the fourth one?
I think honestly, I can't remember. The second one opens up when you're shot and you're in that
In the
train that's
train.
suspended off of the mountain. The third one, honestly, I can't remember how it opens. So it's either three or four. But if it's at night and you're being chased for some reason, that makes me think four. But I could be wrong. The
It might
third
have
one's
been.
much more of like a Sully and Nathan Drake kind of story, so maybe it's 3.
I guess so. Yeah, right after that sequence, they like Nathan's in prison. Or no, Nathan's in the orphanage, and then he's following his
Oh,
big
that's 3
brother.
then.
Okay,
Oh, Big
yeah.
Brother. Big Brother's 4, so it's 4 then.
Oh, it is 4. Okay.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, see the titles and everything. I think I bought like the multi-pack of them and was kind of just going through them to see the vibe.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with it. I actually got way too addicted to that one, and
Mhm.
I had to stop because I'm like, damn, I'm gonna miss work over this. Now going back to things that obviously that you've influenced me on and kind of shown me things that I absolutely love because of you. I've
You're
never
welcome,
owned
and I'm sorry.
Cody. What's bad is like hell, I binged Dexter like a damn crack, dude. It was like crack. And
Mhm.
I got to season 6 and I fell off. I haven't finished. I know the spoilers too, unfortunately. I gotta stay off the internet.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I got to season 6 and then Brother Sam died and I said, nope,
Mm.
I'll come back later. But because I've heard Resurrection's great, I might
Season
actually
seven's
finish it.
really good too. People, so, I mean, you'll hear different opinions, but I think 7 is as close to as good as the first 4 as you get in that original series. Then 8 is pretty miserable. New
Yeah.
Blood really, some people love it, some people hate it, and then Resurrection seems to be like where everybody kind of really got back into it and felt like it was back to the glory days.
Yeah, season 6 ain't even that bad. I might have even finished it. It might have started 7, but season 6 isn't bad. And like, I'm a Christian, but I'm not like, the stereotypical Twitter Christians, I guess I would call them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a damned if you do, damned if you don't type or anything like that. But yeah, no, I love the Christian aspects to it, the religious, I would say religious aspects to it. And then I thought Brother Sam is one of the most important characters to have ever been on the show so far.
Mm-hmm.
I and his death really rubbed me wrong. Now, narratively, it makes sense. I guess helps push the character forward and everything, but I don't know. That one actually rubbed me really wrong. Like you have this misconceived notion about him. You don't know if he's actually like a good guy. He looks like he's almost playing the religious cap and fronting it.
Mm-hmm.
And then him and Dexter actually get like kind of close, and he guides Dexter in really good ways. And um, then of course he's killed, and then you get that aspect of Dexter actually listening. Like you see the effect Brother Sam had on him, where he's like, "I'm gonna forgive this guy for killing him." But then of course that guy, hell, it's like Chuck with tennis shoes in movies. Like it don't take much, dude. You whistled wrong, I'm killing you.
Yeah.
I love that part. Love the kills in it, but I don't know. It's going from such a heavy high with season 4 and then a bit of a decline, but I'm a bigger fan of season 5 than most people are.
Same.
And then immediately just 6 was like kind of rock bottom compared to 5 and 4 and
Mm-hmm.
beforehand. Something that I was surprised with when I first found your channel in 2020. I had just finished watching Breaking Bad for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And now that one I actually found on my own. You didn't like influence that on
Can't
me,
take
but
credit for that one.
yeah, I got one. Yeah, Breaking Bad. I absolutely love the show, and at the time, none of my friends wanted to watch it. Now almost all of them have, and they all love it, and won't give me credit for it, them assholes. But yeah, I found out how much you love Breaking Bad, and I immediately felt some kind of like yes, there's someone else out there, and I can
Mm-hmm.
like finally hear those conversations. And with someone that I was familiar with and familiar with your takes, and I was like, damn, like I don't think at the time I hadn't heard anybody else talk about Breaking Bad. And then obviously Breaking Bad was a huge hit show, but it
Mm-hmm.
seemed like it also had almost a second life in 2020 during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Bryan Cranston's talked about it and everything, how Netflix is the biggest reason why Breaking Bad is as big of a show as it is. because not many people watched it live like you did. I think you caught it like in what, season 2 or 3?
I think it was season 3, yeah. So like I'd always had curiosity about it, and then I just kind of blind bought the first season, and I watched the first 2 episodes and was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. And then for some reason, life just totally took over. Work and everything else. And then it was like a year before I ever went back to it and watched episode 3. So one day I finally just sat down again. I was like, all right, let me try this thing again, because this was awesome. And watched episode 1, watched episode 2. Yep, it was awesome. And then got all the way through the end of the season, and then bought season 2, binged through that, and then I had to download season 3 at the time because it had just aired. And you get to the end of season 3, and that was the first season that had like a cliffhanger, where he's down in the laundromat or whatever, or about to be in a laundromat. And so you start looking, you're like, oh, when's season 4? Oh my God. And that was when they had the big writer strike. So it's like, season 4 might be a year or 2 away. And it was, what? And so that was when I joined, was like right when season 3 ended. And then you had the agonizing wait to season 4. And then they were on a regular schedule. But even then, like almost a year between season 4 and season 5, and then season 5 and the final season, even though the final season is basically just 2 halves.
There's 6 seasons.
Yeah, exactly. That was a wild wait when you just like, you get to the end of season 4 and see the plant, and you're like, that evil fucker. And then you get to the season 5, and you get the, him going on the toilet with the book, and then you have to wait. And then the last stretch of 8 episodes, man, like waiting week to week felt like a year. I remember sitting there with my dad, and it was the episode Tahajali, which is like 3 episodes from the end of the show, where he finally gets Walter White and gets to arrest him and gets to read him the Miranda rights, and then gets him in the car. And then all of a sudden the neo-Nazis start showing up, and you get all the bullets are flying. And then, Walter White's bouncing around in the car, and then it just cuts to black. And created by Vince Gilligan. I remember we were sitting there watching it, like bullets are flying, and we're like leaning forward, and we're like not even breathing. And all of a sudden it cuts to black, and we're sitting there like, and then it says created by Vince Gilligan, and I was like, mother fuck!
Like Bruce Willis from Pulp Fiction.
Yep.
Just throw the damn TV.
Exactly.
Oh, dude. Oh my God. That reminds. I was the Walking Dead nut, dude. Like I grew up. That was kind of like my family show. It was good at the time, so I don't feel bad about that part, but. Yeah, I grew up a Walking Dead fan. That's like you get to season 6, episode 16, and it cuts to black, and you hear "suck my nuts" or whatever, and I'm like, huh? Like who the hell did he just kill? And in that long wait, I remember I didn't even watch it. It took me a long time to go back to that show. That was unfortunate that I even went back. I should have just left it there. That show died when Glenn died, basically. Yeah, I couldn't imagine waiting on Breaking Bad like that. Yeah, I had the luxury.
It was rewarding.
I had the luxury of you was like Vince Gilligan, motherfucker, and I had Vince Gilligan next. Yep, that would have sucked. Oh, that makes my stomach hurt. I can imagine experiencing something like that.
Yep.
But now it's even worse. Imagine if it was nowadays, dude. You'd have to wait 5 damn years.
Yeah, exactly.
You would have even remembered. You'd be like, what happened? You'd have to go back and watch the show twice just to remember. Something I'm curious about personally, with stuff like getting screeners, dealing with businesses and companies like such as the people at Netflix or Hulu or wherever you get your screeners from, all the way to even sponsors and meeting those times and those view counts and stuff. How stressful does that part get, and how obligated do you feel meeting certain expectations? Like with the sponsorship, is there a lot of pressure there, or is it just like maybe next time? Or if there's like a new show like Stranger Things and they fuck you over, then you're like, well, damn, that's a lot of missed money right there.
Yeah, I don't really get stressed out about screeners anymore. I used to back in the day, where it felt like a competition, and you felt like you get left out, and everybody else is talking about getting something in their inbox. You're like, why not? Why me? And so I used to kind of, especially with Netflix, where it felt very much like they were just so weirdly selective about who gets what and never honest. I used to be a little more stressed about that. Nowadays, I barely even ask for screeners anymore. Honestly, you'd be surprised at what I've found. Like the advantage of being able to do an early review isn't always what it's cracked out to be, because I find more times than not, oddly enough, people watch videos on things when they're able to watch it. There's few exceptions out there, like, whenever I went to Fantastic Fest and got to see like Terrifier 2 or Terrifier 3, like those reviews would do really good because everybody's like, oh, I want to know now. How is it? But a lot of other movies, I find that if you're able to do an early review for it, sometimes your video won't even do as good as if you drop it, the Friday that everybody's able to check it out, because they're walking out of the theater, and then what do they want to do? They want now that they've
What does
seen
he
the movie.
think?
Yeah. And so there's not as many people now that I've seen that want to hear your thoughts a week or two before they're able to see it, or months before they're able to see it. So I don't try for screeners as much. There's some companies that are good where once you're in with them, they just send it to you. You don't have to ask for it. Disney's that way. There's a couple others.
Disney basically throws them at people.
Pretty much, yeah. And there's a few that you kind of have to sign up for. Like I had to sign up for Daredevil, and then I ended up getting screwed because they sent it to me the week of South by, so I couldn't even watch them. But other companies like Netflix, you got to go for them every single time for every individual title and wait, talk to a different person, and it just gets annoying. So I don't stress that one too much anymore. The sponsorship side of things, that was something I kind of had to learn. I was very dumb early on, I'll just say it, because I didn't really, for some reason, my brain didn't put together, like, you should always put a sponsor on a video that you think is going to do amazing, because they're good numbers for you is good numbers for them. At first, my brain was so like financially geared. This is when I was still, working full time and everything, that I was like, okay, if I get a sponsor that's giving me a certain amount of money, I'll put them on a video that I don't think is going to make as much money, because now it kind of goes out in the wash. Like if this was going to be a lower income video, now there's extra money there. Like I didn't always do that, but that's how I thought sometimes. And so I kind of found out the hard way. I'm like, why aren't these sponsors re-upping with me? Oh, because you put it on a video that didn't do so well, dummy. So luckily that was a very quickly learned lesson. But nowadays, it's not too bad. I for a while there, the most stressful part about it was being a sole negotiator for yourself, because a lot of these companies will try to take advantage of you. They think, most people online, whether you're a YouTuber, influencer, whatever you want to call it, if you get somebody offering you a sponsorship, you're just happy at the offer. You're like, oh yeah, I'll do it for 200.
Right.
And so you kind of had to battle a little bit whenever you're a bigger channel and you're, like, no, my time, like a spot on this channel for this video is worth a hell of a lot more than that. Having to have those conversations and be the one who's like, they offer you 200. It's like, well, it's 1,000. And they're like, oh, well, what about 300? And it's like, that negotiation side of it. That was stressful for a while. Luckily now I have a third party company that I use that does all the negotiation for me. That's one of the only things that I've done to kind of outsource what I do. And that's taken a lot of that stress away, and I've gotten much better deals since. There's still a little bit of stress sometimes in the view count, because some sponsors will have like a view guarantee where they're like, I want a guarantee of 40,000 views or whatever. And you say yes. And if your video doesn't hit that, then you got to give them a freebie. I've only ever had to do that once, luckily. And then sometimes it's just the stress of, I know I have a sponsorship that needs to come out at some point in the next couple of weeks. And you look at the schedule and you're like, I don't see any new release that's going to do gangbusters. So now I got to come up with the video idea. And luckily I'm pretty good at that. But sometimes it's stressful, like this past March was a very, very low view, low income month for me, unusually so after Scream 7, I look at the schedule and I'm like, and maybe Obsession. It's like maybe Obsession in May will do good for me, even though I've already talked about it. So that might even hurt me, but like, there's not really a big, like guaranteed safe bet movie coming out. So that's when I'll come up with like a tier list idea or some off the wall thing. Sometimes it's a good thing. It makes me be a little creative. It makes me kind of work harder to try to think of something new. But it's mostly stress free now. Luckily, the sponsorship stuff. The only times it's ever been stressful is if you agree to everything and then they send you the product and you don't like it. Which luckily that's only ever happened to me one time. Everything that I do on my sponsorships, luckily I'm a fan of, or I find a use for it, or I find that there's going to be a use for the people I'm promoting it to. But there was, I'm not gonna say what product it was, but there was a product that they sent it to me and I tried it and I was like, I turned to my wife, I'm like, this tastes like shit. Oh my God. And so I immediately emailed them back and I'm like, do I have to give some kind of an endorsement on the taste or can I just talk about the benefits of it? And they were like, well, like we want you to like it and say how great it is. And I'm like, I'm just gonna be honest with you, I'm not a fan, but like I know that people who are health nuts are not really gonna care so much about that if it's got all this other stuff. So I won't feel like a liar at all if I just don't have to say it tastes great. If I can just tell you, if you drink this, this happens. You get all this. And so that was the only time where, you know, I didn't feel dishonest about it, but I was like, I wish I liked this. I'd feel more comfortable. But that was only one time, luckily.
That's so funny. The one sponsorship you had that still makes me laugh to this day is the one you had with a companion.
That was a fun one for all the reasons. That was that I was still doing my own negotiation at that time, and so they sent me that one, and I was like, absolutely not. And then I started looking at the details, and I'm like, that movie Companion is coming out. Like, I was more worried. Like, I knew I could sell it and make it funny, but I was more worried. Like, is this gonna look bad on me, or can I actually make this funny? And everybody's just gonna laugh about it. Like, it's a dice roll. And so I just told them, I was like, if I can market this completely my way and you don't give me a script and tell me what to say or give me guidelines, we can shake hands. But I'm going to need a lot more money and I'm not showing any images whatsoever or my shit's going to get dinged. And so I luckily got them to give me every single okay that I needed. And that sponsorship did amazingly because all I got was positive feedback of everybody saying how hilarious it was. I don't know if they actually got orders, but apparently they were very happy with how it did because they were like, we want you to do more. And we're sending your video to everybody else and saying, do what this guy did.
Our website click rate is through the roof right now.
Yeah, exactly. So it was, that was a fun one that could have went bad, but it went well.
Well, that one's hilarious. I've even showed a couple of guys at work. They're like, "Who's this?" I'm like, "Well, for one, subscribe, but for two, this is just hilarious. This is just sense of humor." Yeah, there's funny moments like that. There's also moments like, for example, I'm a big fan of the Real Rejects, like Greg Alba and John Humphreys. Greg famously has a sponsorship with Huel. And I've heard a lot of mixed things about that product on all over the internet. I was going to ask you, have you ever tried Huel?
Yeah, I did a sponsorship with them. I think twice. It's pretty good. It's luckily they reached out to me when I was very like strict on my diet, so it was all about like protein and everything like that, and that those replacement meals are very high protein compared to others. It doesn't have like you can tell you're eating things with like greens and everything in there, so it's not like a totally smooth like this is like a milkshake, yay. There was notes in there where you're like, okay, this tastes like a healthy thing.
It's like if someone spilled chocolate milk on a pasture, but all right.
A tolerable version of that, yes. And so yeah, I dug Huel for the most part. I did not like the greens drink, the little carbonated greens drink or whatever. But the actual meal replacement that was like the lion's share what they wanted me to promote, I thought was pretty solid. The chocolate one and the vanilla one were pretty solid.
I thought about getting it, not even for really workout reasons, but more like unfortunately, I'm on Adderall, and it really does kill your appetite. It has different effects on many different people. It absolutely kills my appetite. I was like 180 pounds when I started. It got put on it, and then here we are like 2 years later, and I'm like 130.
Wow. And I need to get on Adderall.
No. It keeps you active. I'll tell you what, you did that, you'd have 4 scripts wrote just out of creativity because you're focused. You get stuck. But no, yeah, I was just thinking like I drink a lot of stuff throughout the day. So I'm wondering if something like Huel that I can still get all the nutrients that I need or all the supplements, anything that I need that can just keep my body from trying to shut down
Hmm.
and just kind of keep my appetite going. Like even I'm not hungry, I can kind of trick myself into getting something, some kind of
Hmm.
intake. Everything that I have tried absolutely sucks, and Huel is pretty pricey. But if it's worth it, then it's worth it. So yeah, I
Yeah.
was just on a personal level, I wanted to ask about that because I don't know anyone else who's tried it.
Yeah, I would say give it a shot. You know, they have smaller ones that you can try where you don't have to dump a whole lot of money. It's not as good tasting as like just a general protein shake, where like some of those just taste like you're drinking a melted milkshake or something like that. But the vanilla and the chocolate that I tried is pretty solid, and it is like literally a full meal. So it's protein, all the different vitamins and stuff. So um, I'd say give it a shot.
What would be the best tasting one?
Yeah, that depends on you, man. They got like 12 different flavors. So they got like vanilla and chocolate and strawberry banana and all kinds of stuff.
Well, I
So
was,
vanilla and chocolate tend to be, excuse me, vanilla tends to be the safest bet with most things because sometimes certain brands of chocolate can taste a little bit chalky, but even chocolate's a pretty safe bet. But vanilla tends to be my go-to with most things because it's hard to fuck up vanilla.
right, yeah,
Mhm.
it's in the name, it's vanilla. Do you
Yeah.
mess that up? You mess up a wet dream.
Mhm.
No, I was meaning like, what if you even have any off the top of your head? This is a really crazy question, but like, what kind of brands or other brands other than Huel would be a more better option in flavor?
Well, it's not exactly the same thing, but I really like overnight oats. That's
Okay,
kind of an easy little to-go meal. I mean, you can literally make your own custom overnight oats by just buying oats and fruit and other things like that. But there is a brand called Overnight Oats where it's like a pouch of protein powder and oats and flavorings, and they give you your own shaker cup, and you just pour it in there and fill it to the line and shake it up, put it in the fridge at night, and then in the morning it's ready. I don't know if you like oatmeal or like,
oh yeah,
soggy. It's like drinking soggy cereal.
right,
Not in a way that's, at least for me, not in a way that's unappealing. But they've had like, they got cookies and cream. They've got fruity crunch, which is like fruity pebbles, orange creamsicle, cinnamon roll. So it's impossible not to find a flavor that you don't like. Um, there's coconut ones, there's chocolate brownie, which is really good. So I've been
Ooh,
a fan of that stuff quite a bit. If you go on their website, you can get like a little variety pack and choose which flavors. If you have a Costco near you, they always have like a box of them where you get like 10 of two different flavors in a shaker cup for like $30 or something like that. But I like those.
cool. I don't want to keep you too long. I really appreciate you coming on. I guess I'll close it out here. We ran for an hour 30. That's pretty fair. I think more than fair actually.
Hmm.
So, dude, I really appreciate you coming on. I don't know when this will come out. I got to figure out the editing process on it, but
Hmm.
hopefully I'll have it before May. So I'm shooting for like the end of April.
Okay.
Just in case, what are some big things maybe you have coming out soon that you can tell the people and they can go watch?
Well, the just today, as we're recording this, I released a big tier list where I'm talking about a bunch of horror movie posters, which was kind of a fun video.
That was awesome.
And then I have one planned for later on this month after the new Mummy movie comes out, where it was a Patreon suggestion to do a big Blumhouse tier list.
You mean
So,
the Lee Cronin movie that Brandon Lee is 100%
yeah,
in?
yeah, Brendan Fraser, yeah,
Or Fraser.
exactly.
I said,
Yeah,
what? I
and
said
so,
that.
yeah, so I have that coming out. So I'm just gonna do a big ranking of all the Blumhouse movies that I've seen after The Mummy comes out. That should be fun. And then after that, May looks like a pretty solid month of movies. I mean, we got Obsession finally coming out, which I've talked about a couple of times, but I'll probably do a solo review of that. You've got Hokum, which I saw at South by, so I'll do a review of that at some point. So May should be pretty decent for horror, and then we're getting into summer season, so hopefully some bigger tentpole movies by then.
When does, if you know off the top of your head, when does that Charlie Day movie come out? Kill Me Now? Or
It hasn't got distribution yet, so I don't know. It might be a year or more. Anytime you see a movie at a film festival that isn't like a studio-backed movie already, you never know. It could come out in a few months. It could come out 2 years from now.
it's gonna be October next year. It's literally this year's Anxiety King. I'm ready to see that too.
Yep. That's like
Damn.
August 14th or something like that.
Yeah, it's
Even that
something
one,
crazy.
that's a year and a half after I saw it. So
Where can the people find you? Even though if you're watching this, you've probably coming from his channel and finding me out, but just in case if there's someone out there that's lived under a rock, where can they find you at?
yeah, so just search my name on YouTube. I should be pretty much all the results that you'll see. Or you can just type in youtube.com/ at Cody Leach YT, I think is the way they've styled it now. They changed their links so much. And then you can also find me with that same handle, Cody Leach YT, over on Instagram, and TikTok is Cody Leach Reviews. So
Those links will also be in the description. Man, I had a lot of fun. I really appreciate you coming on and doing this. Hopefully I can get a better flow with this, and maybe if you had fun and you liked it, one day down the road you can come on again and it'll just be more BSing around instead of just this format.
yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah, I had a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful night, and tell Chuck I said, hey, not really. I can't wait to hear that episode. I've been waiting on another one.
hmm
But yeah, all right, dude. Well, have a good night, and I appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
All right.